Hi, Anthony. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Anthony has a much cooler background than I have. I have a very boring couch, a gray couch that looks like might belong to a shrink or something like that. And Anthony has guitars and it looks like original artwork behind him.
Yeah, those are some of the old instruments I used to play and some friends' art. But I moved my table, so I had my table positioned the other way, and there's just a plain black painted canvas behind me. So I did a few of these, and I was like, man, all these people have these cool like AI generated backgrounds, and so I was like, these guitars are cooler.
Much cooler than an AI generated background, by the way. Those are cheesy. I mean, I always feel like on these virtual calls, somebody's trying to hide something. Right?
Probably a messy house is what they're trying to hide.
Probably a messy house. I'd rather look at a messy house than a fake picture of like, a tropical island.
Right, or the like Roku generated like AI barbershop in the background.
Exactly. Actually, that sounds kind of cool. All right. So for our listeners who don't know you, I think most of our listeners probably know you, but for those who don't, you're a Sacramento barber who owns multiple shops and a product line called Victory Crown Barber Company. And I know that you're friends with various guests that we've had on over the years. I've had, a number of guests over the years. And so yeah, about 400 episodes, right, listeners? Something like that. Donovan knows. I don't even look at the number anymore. I just keep going week after week.
That's how you got to do it.
That's right. But so I've known you for a while virtually, so it's great to have you on. And I love your Instagram. You are one of those people who doesn't mind saying certain things that are honest. And I think your listeners or your followers appreciate that about you.
I do my best. I mean, I try to strike a balance between like being funny and informative, and sometimes I try to find a polite way to say some of the things that bother all of us in the industry. I've spent a lot of years traveling the country and the world teaching, and everywhere I've gone, like we all have the same loves and hates about the industry. So if I can kind of try to humorously help people, find a way to being better, I hope that's where I'm landing.
Yeah. Well, the most recent one that I saw today, you must have posted it recently, was you were kind of making fun, in a nice way, you're kind of making fun of those people who lament all of their haters. And I suspect that you were particular, you don't know which post I'm talking about?
It's on my pinned. On the top three, on my yeah.
So it's probably old then.
So I'm styling my hair.
You're styling your hair,
yeah.
And you're kind of making fun of people who are complaining about all their haters. And I think you're addressing people who are not necessarily high-profile people in the industry, but they're nonetheless lamenting their haters. Do you remember what your message was?
That I'm not as important as I think I am.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I think, this industry, and myself very, very much included, I've been doing a lot of writing and self-reflecting for the last couple of years. And I'm working with a therapist and stuff too. And I've kind of realized a lot of my insecurities and how it's affected me over the years, in mostly bad, but honestly, weirdly, sometimes good ways. And I found that, I was always worried about that too, posting stuff like, if you don't got haters, you're not doing it right, and bullshit like that. But that was all to make myself feel better, because I wasn't confident in myself or the decisions I was making or the direction I was headed. Wasn't confident that if something went wrong, I could figure it out, or if something went wrong, that people would, I'd be found out as a fraud or an imposter. So I think that's more of what that was about. That I kind of came to the realization, especially I had a major career shift at the beginning of last year, where I sold my barbershop, and I was really worried about how people were going to take that, how they're going to reflect on me as a business owner and my career. And after it all went down, I was just kind of like, no one really gave a fuck. At all. I mean, a couple of people said some kind of weird stuff, but I was just kind of like, all right, man, Sure.
And then they moved on, right?
They moved
It's
on,
not
and
like
then the next
anyone
salacious headline comes out, and then the next
Right.
thing, and it actually didn't have a negative impact on my career or me at all. It actually had a hugely positive impact on me and my career. I'm significantly I'm happier. I work less. I make more money, and it was just all in my head. So I think that's, unfortunately, I think that's where a lot of us get the industry. This industry, kind of at a base level, in my opinion, is kind of attracts emotionally damaged people, and I don't mean that to be insulting at all, because I am an emotionally damaged person. So I think trying to get that out there and talk about that, and just hope, not that I have any like grand solution for anyone. I'm not a therapist, but like if people see that they're not alone, someone else feels that way and someone else has dealt with these things. I think that's important.
All right. So you're, I'm a little bit older than you. You're what, 40 something?
Yeah, 40, about to be 41.
All right. So I'm in my late 40s. So here we are, we're mature men, and you're talking about how you decided to go to a therapist. Is this the first time that you decided to see a therapist?
Basically, my ex-wife and I did ex-wife. That's how well it worked.
Right.
We did some therapy when we were splitting up, but the first thing the therapist said when we sat down was, usually by the time I see couples, it's already too late, so I probably won't be much help to you. So that didn't help. Like our age group, I'm sure you're aware.
An auspicious beginning.
Yeah, our age group, a lot of men in general, but especially our age group and older, has a real hesitancy towards therapy or counseling or anything like that.
Sure.
So that kind of put me off of it for a while, but things got so bad that I felt I didn't have another choice, and it was like, well, I'm not going out like Anthony Bourdain, so I guess I'll try therapy. And I did. I didn't like really going in person because I'm like a twitchy, nervous person in general. I have a lot of anxiety. I don't know if you can tell. I'm kind of like fidgeting my chair as I'm talking. So I decided to do one of the apps, and I did BetterHelp, and I kept mumbling.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, I kept mumbling, this BetterHelp, as I signed up.
It's called BetterHelp or Better Health?
BetterHelp.
BetterHelp, and it's an app.
It's an app.
And so what do you get when you go to the app?
So they ask you a series of questions, which I found when my ex-wife and I were trying to pick out a therapist. This is really interesting. We're talking about this right off the bat. I'm actually in the process of writing a memoir, and this is what I've been writing about all weekend.
Ooh, this is amazing. I love this.
I'm a long ways from being done. I'm close to being done with the manuscript, but there's a lot more steps in front of me. I'm probably looking more at like a spring, summer 26 launch.
Okay.
And I have a chapter literally called BetterHelp. It's kind of the whole point of the book is my career, my life, things I've done right, things I've done wrong, and how my own mental health has affected all of that. But the app, when you sign up, they ask you a series of questions. Anyway, what I was saying, my ex-wife and I kind of had a hard time finding a therapist. Just like searching therapist Sacramento is a daunting task.
I bet.
But on the app, they ask all sorts of questions. You prefer male, female, religious-based, all these different things. And they ask all these different things of like, what are you struggling with? And the first time I signed up or tried to sign up, I got to that page and saw all the boxes clicked. It was like, I don't know, 3/4 of them. And they're pretty standard things like stress, sleeping, appetite, personal relationships, spouse, significant other, like that kind of shit. And I checked family, all of them, basically. And I was like, wow, I'm really fucked up. This is scary. I don't want to do this. So I closed out and was like, fuck it. I'm going to keep trying to beat up my own brain. And then I went another couple weeks, and I had started, really what made me start doing it is I couldn't stop crying. Like, I know like a lot of men, we like bottle it all in and everything. And this was like kind of coming out of the pandemic. This was like spring of 21.
Okay.
Owning a bar through the pandemic was horrible is the only way I
Yeah.
can put it. It was absolutely fucking miserable. And it isn't why you think. I was getting yelled at by everybody. I wasn't liberal enough.
Sure.
I was too liberal. We shouldn't be open. We should never be
course.
open.
Totally.
Crazy shit, right? But
Yeah.
like most men, we kind of have a few things that like get us, right? Like those commercials about like fathers and like puppies. You know, you get a little like, I'm not crying, you're crying, man. Fuck you. Bullshit. But I'd gotten to the point where I was like, I couldn't control it at all. I'd just be like cutting hair and I would start crying. Like nobody would say anything. No, it was just like, I was such an emotional basket case that I failed at the first attempt, but then it wasn't going to get better. And I knew that. I was just being afraid. And one thing I can say for my career and my life in general is I've done my absolute best to not let fear stop me from doing something. Fear is bullshit excuse.
Right.
It's something that you can work through in a lot of ways. But the second time around, I got matched with a therapist, and they're really good about like, did you like this therapist? How would you rank them? And then they have all these different things of like, do you think they understood you? Do you think they were listening to you? Do you think they had the skills to help you? And I got matched with, at the time, this 72-year-old New York Italian lady who reminds me of my grandma, and we've been working through stuff ever since.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
So the app is a matchmaking service.
everything's done through the app. So you can do video conference like this, or you can do talk. I just do like headphones because I like to like do the dishes or fold laundry or general pace. I don't know. You know, I cut hair for a reason. I don't like sitting still.
Right. Okay. So, and you've been doing sessions with this lady, and has it? What would you say to yourself before you started? Because I imagine before you started, you had all sorts of anxiety and reservations and fears about it. Now that you've done it, what would you say to yourself back then?
Don't be afraid. I think that's the biggest thing. People get. It's difficult to tell someone that you don't have any idea who they are, your like deepest, darkest secrets. Even though it seems to be easy for me on this podcast, it's scary. It's really scary, and just don't let things deter you. Like it will help. It might take time. It might take different people. You might have to switch out therapists. The therapist is there to help you. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, they're not there to judge you. They're not here to tell you you're wrong. If they do, then get a different fucking therapist. That is 100% not their job. Their job is to be a neutral third party that helps you reason through things and can point out things that like your friends can't, right? Like your friends are for bitching like, nah, this fucking guy came in today type stuff, right? Not like deep, dark personal secrets and insecurities. Don't burden your friends with that stuff. Be fun. I spent a lot of years doing that to my friends, trauma dumping on them and being angry around them because I didn't know how to hold my own emotion and things like that. But they're really there to help you. So do your best and ease in. I didn't. The first time I talked to the therapist, she's like, all right, what do you think you need help with? And I said it, and I was like, do you think you can help me with that? And I was like, no, she was like, no, but you can help yourself. And I was like, oh.
Right out of the gate. Right out of the gate.
Which I do well with that, right? That kind of like little more pushy.
No bullshit.
Grew up in an Italian family, like, no bullshit. It's kind of my whole thing as a barber. No bullshit barbering.
Yeah.
But, if they say something offensive, you can say, hey, I don't like that, or like, and they can help you reason with why you don't like that. Like it's they're there to help. So do your best to be honest and to not be afraid. Like that's the
amazing.
If you're not honest, it's not gonna fucking work because you're just lying to yourself and your therapist. So
right. I wonder if the therapists know if their clients bullshitting them.
Yeah, I've asked.
Probably, right?
I've directly asked. Yeah, at least mine did. She's been doing it for 40 years or something, and she was like, she's like, not in the first couple sessions, but after the first couple sessions we can kind of tell. I was like, all right.
So this is fantastic. I'm interested in the whole thing. And why do you think you called yourself emotionally, or you consider yourself emotionally damaged to a degree? Why do you think that is? What happened? Or did something happen? It
Yeah,
just
I had a real weird childhood. Man, we're going all in. This is great.
Why not?
Sure. Hopefully, BetterHelp picks you up as an advertiser. They advertise on like every major podcast ever.
Exactly. Better help, better sponsor.
Yeah, BetterHelp. I had an interesting childhood. I grew up Jehovah's Witness. And
Interesting.
I grew up in the punk scene, and I grew up with a family business. Just very interesting childhood. Like most dads, especially, I was born in the early '80s. Most '80s dads weren't super emotionally available, so
True.
I didn't know if my dad liked me. So I kind of internalized that and took that as like self-worth. That's kind of what the first chapter is about my first experience in a barber shop, and kind of recognizing those things at a young age. And then talking about growing up Jehovah's Witness, I was 5 years old. Pretty sure I was about 5. I'd already been taking doors, going door to door, all that super annoying stuff that Jehovah's Witnesses do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I had a little 20-second presentation. And I remember walking up the stairs, and there were like beer boxes and torn apart bikes on the counter or on the porch and stuff. And guy opened the door. He had like boxers on and a wife beater and or a tank top, ribbed tank top, and robe that was open. And he looked at my parents, just over me at my parents. And my parents are kind of doing and he slides down them and looks at me. And I couldn't even get a word out. And he leans down, gets in my face, and I could smell the coffee, beer, and cigarettes on him. And he goes, "I don't want your bullshit." Step back and slam the door in my face. And my parents just tried to explain it away. It's just like, "Oh, he's just a rude guy. We'll go get donuts." The only people that spend more time in donut shops than cops are Jehovah's Witnesses. And I remember looking up at the sky, and it was really cloudy. It was really black clouds. And if it rained, I knew we got to go home. And I remember just being like, "I don't want to do this." And over the years, I tried to make it work with religion and things like that. But the older I got, the more I read the actual Bible. Jehovah's Witnesses read the Bible a lot. The more I just disagreed with it.
I'm sorry for asking a stupid question, but is it the normal, Old Testament, New Testament Bible, or is it a different Bible?
It's their translation, but it's roughly Old Testament, New Testament. They're just their translation of it. They're a pretty standard Christianity belief. There's a couple of things that aren't like industry standard for Christianity. They only believe a certain amount of people are going to heaven. When you die, you're just dead. There's no hell. Anybody that was like good, instead of going to heaven, the earth, after the rapture, the earth will be turned into a paradise and live forever on a paradise earth instead of going to heaven. I don't know, man. It's crazy, right? Like there's 3,000 different gods, and the Bible's written when they were like shitting outside, and their tribe was like 45 people. So there's a bunch of books in the Bible that weren't books of the Bible that weren't included. And the Book of Revelation is basically some dude's acid trip. What do I know, right?
Exactly. Okay. So that was a traumatic experience for a 5-year-old, especially for anybody, and especially a 5-year-old.
I just learned to internalize stuff at a young age, and I think the toughest part wasn't that door. I think that was kind of like my first time recognizing that like this might not be for me. But being Jehovah's Witness in school was really, really hard. It was, everybody thinks they're a cult because they go door to door, which is annoying, definitely. But that, to me, that's not why they're a cult. They're actually, like, one of the big things about cults is like guarding information, right? Like, and they don't. Their whole point, what they're doing at the door, is trying to tell you everything about their religion. Like that's their whole fucking goal, is they witness for Jehovah. It's in the name. They don't believe the rapture will come until everyone has been contacted by the Word of God, their version of the Word of God. But the culty thing is you're not allowed to hang out with anybody outside of their religion. So when I was in school, I wasn't allowed to have friends. And when I was young, there wasn't really, I grew up in Chico, a little bit up north from Sacramento. There wasn't really any kids my age in the congregations at the time. So I literally didn't have any friends. And then at school, like if I could invite, I was expected to, and this isn't just me, this is like Jehovah's Witness kids in general, were expected to tell kids why they couldn't go to their birthday party using the scriptures.
Oh, Lord.
And once you're, which is weird, right? Like 8 years old trying to use the Bible to explain why I can't come to your birthday party or why I can't accept your Valentine's Day card. Doesn't go over super fucking well. So I was kind of ostracized as like the weird kid. And once you're the weird kid, you're the weird kid. And I found some solace in punk rock. I actually got my first punk rock tape when I was 10 years old. And I do think that the only reason I actually liked it was because it was Bad Religion. And I knew I shouldn't listen to that. I listened to music that was kind of similar at the time, like Metallica, Guns N' Roses, like that kind of stuff. I didn't know enough about music to know the difference between that sound and Bad Religion, but it's just the name. I knew I shouldn't listen to it, and it was my silent rebellion, and then punk rock kind of became my silent rebellion, the anthem to me not liking stuff. And I think it just kind of internalized from there. I named that like anxiety feeling, the self-shaming, the doom spiraling, the lack of self-worth, all that kind of stuff. I nicknamed it the Black Cloud. So that's what I've been unpacking for the last few years, and it's been a wild ride, man.
Well, all that makes sense. This black cloud formed, and you've been trying to figure it out. And
then the lack of confidence with everything I've pushed through in my career, or the insecurities, right? And then I'm sure you've experienced this too, just being in the industry, or the imposter syndrome. Like you think everybody else has got it figured out, and they know just what they're doing, and it took me years to realize that nobody has any fucking idea what they're doing, that we are all literally making this up as we go, and you just kind of have to have faith in yourself that you can figure it out. And I didn't always have that faith, so I would use, this is what I was writing today, I would use the guard of anger and ego. If you've made me feel, or I felt insecure, then I would get angry, and I would like lash out to protect myself. And then to get me to feel confident in the decisions that I was making, that I was way over my head. I mean, at one point in my career, I was cutting hair 5 days a week for 9 to 12 hours a day, doing walk-ins only, cutting as fast as I could. I was launching Victory Crown. I was opening the barber shop. I was pitching a pilot for a reality show. I was doing national education. And I was out at the San Francisco Giants Stadium every 10 days. And I didn't know how to cut hair. I was cutting all the Giants players.
Oh, interesting.
I was an MLB barber. And there were so many pieces moving, and I had to do so many things, and I'm trying to take phone calls from designers and whatever, the lab, the designer, my business partners. I was completely overwhelmed and didn't have this, the maturity or the self-confidence to just be like, if something goes wrong, I'll figure it out. I was over drinking and smoking a lot of weed and doing a lot of things to try to cope. Anything but dealing with the actual feelings, right? Just mask it, make it go away. And then by 2021, that didn't work anymore. It's getting to the point where I was having, on and off throughout my career, I've had panic attacks. Like for a couple of, first 2 years at Anthony's, my first shop, I pretty much lived in what I call the black cloud. I had constant chest pain, couldn't sleep, drinking to, trying to drink a 6-pack to go to sleep, waking up to do shots of whiskey to try to go back to sleep. Wow. Just chest pain, continual chest pain, debilitating, like I couldn't talk or answer. And as I kind of figured out my footing with like the barbershop, that kind of subsided. I was like, okay, I kind of got this worked out. And then in about a 2-year period, I went crazy. I did all of that stuff I was working on was all in less than 2 years. 2-year period.
Look, I have to pause right there for a second. What's amazing is that you
got through it all.
That you kept doing more. What was it? Ambition? Was
I
it
don't know.
fear that you're going to be a failure if you didn't do more? Was it what caused you to keep
You
doing
know,
more?
I think it's a series of things. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. I spent a lot of time thinking about it at the fucking time, and I couldn't put my finger on it then. Hindsight's a little bit easier. I think I was raised to do it. I'm third generation small business owner. Like it's all I know. It's literally all I know. I've never been on anybody else's payroll but either my family's or my own. I've only ever worked in 2 other barbershops other than my own, and I was an independent contractor there at both of those. I just wanted to do it. I like to do cool, interesting things. I like it. I know that sounds like a little bit of an oversimplification, but I kind of have this that's one of the things that people have talked about me about my career. Like I have some sort of plan, and I'm like, oh, this is working. That's shiny. I want to go over there. Part of it was ego, wanting to say I've done all these things or look at my resume type thing. Part of it, I think, in the barber side of the industry, we all also felt like we had to take those opportunities. I've talked to a few guys that are kind of my generation of barbering. We were the first wave of the new world of barbering, between the classic cuts coming back in and social media blowing up. It was the Wild West. Like we didn't know if this was going to keep going. I was like, strike while the iron's hot, make hay when the sun shines. Like, I got to do this. Who knows how long this barber boom's going to last? I mean, now it's not going anywhere. I can confidently say that 20 years later. But, I felt like we had to. And it was interesting. Like my first haircutting job was in a world that I knew nothing about. Like, I'm a white kid from Chico, man. My first education job was with exotics. They invented barber battles. We were doing barber battles on Skid Row in these nightclubs. Like, it was interesting. It was a culture I'd never experienced, a part of barbering I'd never really experienced. And then it was like, Layrite started hiring me, and we got to build out the education program. We got to and then you're meeting so many people too. It was so interesting to meet all these barbers from all over the country, all over the world. Like, I taught with Pacino on one of his tours, and I got to meet, oh my God, Jody. Oh, I'm blanking on his last name now. Super famous UK hairstylist barber, like winning all these awards, and all these dudes are like trying to take a selfie with Pacino, and this like legitimately famous, like does editorial work guy is just standing there in the corner with a beer, like just chilling. It was cool. It was a very special, unique time, and it was a lot of fun. It was scary. It was just energizing too. I think that's something that when you're like you and all the homies are like breaking through glass ceilings and doing things that have never been done in barbering. Like I remember getting texted. I don't know. You probably remember this. I'm figuring out how old I am in the industry these days with teaching. But I got text the 4 a.m. fade before it was posted. Like that created that huge trend. All these guys people coming up from LA to visit me, to meet me. People, like I had people coming from France to just to take a picture of the outside of my shop. Like it was just a unique time, and I felt like I had to get in there when I could.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Well, that makes sense. And so you were plugging, obviously super exhilarated by the culture, by the moment, by the excitement and everything, and ignoring your own limits, your own tolerance for stress, and you just kept going, and then that brings us to about 2021, which is where we kind of started the story, and that's when you hit a wall.
Yeah, I was at the time. So I had. What I had? So I had Victory Crown. I had the barbershop, and then I had my original shop. And I
One
just
was a bar,
opened.
one was not a bar, I believe.
Right, my original shop, Anthony's Barbershop, was just barbershop. I had 8 chairs in there by that point. I had the bar and the barbershop, which had been through the years before that. I had my main partner that him and I started it together. He had left, so I was left with these 2 business partners that weren't actually really operators. They were like, I don't know, they were trying to build this company to like open bars and have small ownership percentages of them, but they were never really operators. They weren't really great at it. One dude was really good with numbers. The other dude just kind of sucked. But I ended up getting more and more bar responsibilities piled on me. And I, again, I'm not good at recognizing my own limits. I can always do more. I can always work harder. That's what I was raised to do. I mean, I was working in the family business when I was 8 years old. I was running it by the time I was 19. That's all I knew. So I just kept, yeah, sure, I can do that. So by 20, I forced one of them out. They had a bad breakup in their company, and one dude I really just didn't like by this point. I felt like he was kind of slimy and shitty and didn't actually do anything ever. Yeah. But I was cutting hair full time still, 4 days a week, running this bar, trying to run this product line, trying to get through COVID, and I just opened a third shop. I had kind of an opportunity fall in my lap but I thought I was being good because he offered me 2 shops and I only took 1. So I was like, see,
okay, I'm
learning. I ended up buying the other one a couple months later because
then that's how you ended up with 4. Okay.
Yeah. So I had 4, and I was just like, I have to change. Like when my ex-wife and I split up, I had kind of figured out, I kind of knew these insecurities and what was wrong with me, but going through being single, going through getting in another relationship, I had another serious relationship. I hadn't really done anything to deal with them. I was just like, well, I know when this black cloud is coming in, so I can just not be an asshole. And that's, it's a lot. Not dealing with the root issue is not the way to solve anything in any setting, let alone with your own demons. So I started addressing those. I knew that, and I'd gotten to the point, my wife and I, my current wife, we were together for a couple of years. We broke up for a summer, and that was rock bottom for me. I was drinking at work. I was smoking weed before I was going to work. During work, I had literally, Anthony Bourdain's a big hero of mine. Really, he's like the punk rocker that made it, Yeah. And I literally broke up with her because I was like, I want to live this crazy life like Anthony Bourdain. I want to live in Singapore. And then that was like beginning of May. And then he killed himself on my birthday when I was already kind of being like, I don't know. I might have made a mistake. Like I'd been out on the road teaching for about 10 days straight. I was like, I'm like, no, it's not been that long. You'll get used to it. And then I woke up to that. Wow. And then I went and got a tattoo on my shin that says some regrets. So when her and I got back together, I had taken to not being egotistical, not being an asshole. I would just shame the shit out of myself. Like just beat the fuck out of myself, even worse than I already was with all the self-doubt. Just like staying up all night, like, why'd you say that? They're not going to like you now. They're going to think you're an asshole. Like, not even drinking, right? Like sober, I was doing that. Like waking up in the morning, texting people like, hey man, sorry, that was weird last night. And that's when I was like, that shaming, while it had the intended effect of being nicer, I was just brutal on myself. Yeah. And that's why I couldn't control the crying I had no emotional control left. Especially coming out of COVID, everybody's yelling. I felt like everybody hated me in general from the time I was a little kid. So like coming out of going through COVID where like everyone was screaming at me, like, yeah, oof, that was rough. My own people, like my own barbers, clients, the government.
Yeah. Hard not to realize that it wasn't personal.
In the bar and in the barbershop, my experience was pretty personal. It was.
I know. Yeah.
A lot of people in the bar would just stand there and scream at me. Like you're a piece of shit for being open. Yeah. I mean, I guess in the sense that it wasn't personal because they were upset because of the result of COVID, but man, they sure made it feel personal.
Right. Of course. Screaming
at me, like calling me homophobic and racist and sexist, and I'm like, I'm just trying to serve drinks, man. Like I'm not. Well, you got to understand, like as misconstrued as things can get in the barbershop or in the salon, right? They're at least usually sober. In the
That's a good
bar, the
point.
whole point is to not be sober.
Right.
So the barbershop was a little bit easier and you could kind of reason with people, but in the bar, I mean, these people are coming in tuned up and it is lawless.
Yeah, that's
Like
the
I
whole
watched
point. Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought of that.
one of my friends' bars, I was sitting on the patio having a drink with him, and this dude tries to walk in with a full bottle of open bottle of Jack Daniels. He's like, "Hey man, you can't do that." And the dude took a swing at it. Like it was crazy. It was really crazy time. People wanted, and I get it, right? People were bored, people were scared, people were upset. They wanted what they wanted, and they didn't give a fuck who I was, or if I was just in their way. I want my motherfucking chicken nuggies right now, you piece of shit. Right. You're gonna make me feel normal because that's why I came here. And seeing this glass wall and having to wear a mask and having to stay away from people doesn't make me feel normal. It reminds me of where we're at.
Right. Right. Oh, that's such a difficult time.
Yeah.
So you said at the beginning of the conversation that you sold your shops.
Sold the bar and the barbershop. The bar barbershop.
Oh, you sold the bar.
So I have the 3 shops now.
Got it. Okay. And did you sell the bar? Is this kind of part of your trying to improve your situation?
Yeah. I was actually talking to a buddy Saturday night. He was like, I haven't seen him in a while. And he was like, "What? You sold the bar? You told me that was your dream." I was like, "Yeah, nightmares are dreams too." No, it was a dream. It was something I felt I wanted to do. I didn't feel like I was taken very serious as a hair industry person. And we've spent decades glamorizing and glamorizing the restaurant industry. And I was full blown head over heels. I built a lot of my clientele hanging out in bars and restaurants. You know, the only people that see more people in a day than a barber is a bartender. So I'd lace them up and give them a bunch of cards, and they'd give them out. And I just enjoyed the atmosphere. It was a bunch of people that were willing to overdrink and overwork as much as I was. So it was a dream, but it just wasn't right. I was never happy doing it. It always felt like a chore. The thing I've taken to saying is it was fun till it wasn't. When I was single, it was fucking great. And my business partner that ran the bar side was there. It was great. But the more and more I had to take over, the more and more I realized that the chaos, bars are chaotic. Like, really? I am not exaggerating when I say I would have more problems in 1 month at the bar than all 3 of the barbershops for a year.
Wow.
Like going back to drinking, everyone's drunk, staff included.
Right.
So there's no reasoning with drunk people of, like, I've had people say the worst things to my bartender. I've been standing right there. It's not even like I heard, like I hearsay. Like I'm like, "You gotta go, man. You gotta get the fuck out of my bar. You can't talk to people that way, let alone the staff." And they'd be like, "I didn't say that." I'm like, "I'm standing a foot from you. I heard you say that transphobic, that homophobic, that straight up using the N-word, hard R." Like,
jeez.
Yeah, people don't talk about that. I think people in the restaurant industry, and I think business owners as a whole, are afraid to kind of have honest conversations, even with each other. Yeah. It's like we're all afraid that, like, it's the imposter syndrome, that, like, well, what if they're not having problems? Like, motherfucker, just because I'm not now doesn't mean I haven't or I won't at any given moment. So it just turned into this, like, chaotic nightmare that I hated. And I found myself getting further and further away from being behind the chair, which is what I love. Like, I still love being behind the chair. It's still my passion, and all the things I do, all the responsibilities I have now. It got to the point where I was asking my wife, I was like, should I start taking, like, bar back shifts and, like, learn to bartend? And she was like, "What the fuck are you talking about? You're a barber and you don't even like the bar. Why would you do that?" I was like,
right. Wow.
But there was a point, my therapist was like, she goes, it was right around an anniversary. And I mean, I feel like I could have quit therapy a few different times and been a fairly functional person, but I've stuck with it and just found deeper layers that have kept me going, big aha moments that were really impactful, and this was one of them. It was like year 2, I think it was. And she was like, we've, in the last 2 years, we worked through a lot of really serious things for you, family and your upbringing and insecurities and stuff. But still, 3/4 of what we talk about is your frustrations with the bar. I hope at this point you realize the bar isn't going to change, that you will have to change. And I was flying to see NoFX, one of my favorite punk bands, and it's on their last tour. I was meeting one of my old bar managers who became a really good friend of mine down there. When I was talking to him, he knew me, he knows me, he knows the situation, he knows my business partner. So I was another like venting, ranting to him, and he's just kind of got this like, you know, I quit for a reason, right? I was like, fuck, man, sorry. So we're watching this band, and the singer goes on this big, long thing about, you know, like, no effects, this band might be over, but these are my brothers. This is it for the band, but it isn't over. And I was just like, because I'd been going back and forth all evening about, I think I need to leave. My buddy's like, yeah, that sounds like a dude, but, you know, you've said this before. And I was like, I heard that, and it just clicked. I slammed my beer into his chest, and I went and circle pitted for an entire song. I think it was like 39. And I was like, that's it. I'm doing it. And then I got back on Monday and told my business partner. And we almost, it was a nightmare. It continued to be a nightmare. I mean, just as an example, my last weekend owning the bar, New Year's Eve, 23. I got sent this from my bar manager, watching this big group of people, and we had a nice craft cocktail bar. Like, it cost us $1 million to open the place. Like, this isn't some shitty fucking dive bar, you know?
Wow.
Hey, it cost us $1 million to open it 10 years ago. We opened it in the summer of 2015. I watched this woman who's in nice clothes with a big group. She picks up, we sold the little Jaeger shots that were in glass bottles. Mm-hmm. We'd crack them so you couldn't take them with you, but like, why would we get glassware dirty when this is kind of a cool little thing? You know, it's not a plastic shitty thing. It's nice. So you pick it up, and she goes like this, like she's going to throw it at the window. And she like sets it down. She takes a drink of her drink, picks it up, and hucks it at the window and shatters the whole window.
Oh, Jesus, what?
They all stand up, close out, and leave. We had to find them.
They closed out?
Mm-hmm. Oh, this kind of stuff happened all the time.
Really?
Oh, yeah, we had to, because, they're drunk, so they don't think about, like, we have your credit card name. Like, maybe, and we can see exactly what time you closed out, so I can go through my credit card transactions and figure out exactly who you are.
Oh, my God.
So we found them on social media and had to threaten them because one of them worked for the main art gallery here in town, the big, like, the one tourist attraction we have outside the games. She worked there as like a art purveyor. So we had to threaten her, like, we're gonna go. I know we're boss. And they were finally ignored us for like 2 days. I'm getting ready to go public with it. Finally contact. No, we'll take care of it. Don't tell anyone, please. We're so embarrassed. Like, so embarrassed you had to close out and leave. Like. But yeah, we had a lawsuit going between my business partners and their shitty people, and they were leaving me out to dry. The way that I was getting paid from the bar, from doing the haircuts, they found like a loophole to have me pay back some of my salary to help cover the debts for the bar, and they were both perfectly willing to let me just eat that. So I had bad partnerships, I had just chaos. Yeah, it was all the way around. I'm gonna write a book about it.
Yeah, I'll read it. If you write it, I'll read it. It sounds fascinating. I mean, it's just so, as you're talking, I'm just thinking small business. This just sounds like small business. I mean, a bar particularly is an environment that encourages maybe not the best behavior. And
right.
So,
I was watching my main business partner that I was left with, the guy that I was like, it's you and me. Like, I wouldn't call him a father figure, but like an older brother figure for sure. He was just, I was watching him just work less and less and drink more and more. I had so much anxiety, I like wasn't hardly drinking. It made my anxiety significantly worse. So I'm killing myself trying to keep this place afloat because sales were so bad, still coming out of the pandemic. We were living on government funding, Biden bucks and all that shit. Yeah. And I was just like, why am I working these crazy hours for you to like send some emails and then drink whiskey for 9 hours straight? So it was.
Oh my God! Well, thank God you got rid of it. So I mean, are you completely free of it at this point?
Yeah. Sold it beginning of last year. Really cool. My main business partner and I, I wouldn't say we had a falling out. We just didn't talk for a while.
Yeah.
He moved to San Diego after he left our bar, and then moved back to San Francisco, where he was living before he moved to SAC. So him and I reconnected through the pandemic, through getting the other business partners out. We kind of got on better footing, and we're like, look, man, like we're friends, man. Like, let's stop pretending we're not friends. Like, I'm sorry, you're sorry. Like, let's just, let's hang out. So we had started hanging out and getting close again. And I was in San Francisco the weekend that the final paperwork came through. So we got to like sign the paperwork together, and just like we cheers signing the paperwork for our operating agreement. We got to cheers on the sale of the business. And then we got to kind of talk more in depth about our actual experiences there and how I wouldn't say we're mad, but we're kind of like a little off-put by each other.
Yeah.
And finding out we basically had the same experience, that it was the other two dummies that were kind of pitting us against each other. And
right.
I was just,
wow.
my role was kind of like, I just want everybody to get along. Like, I'm just here to make money. Like, I'm here to have a good time. Like, whatever you guys think. So I was the intermediary often between them two and him, and then them two when they weren't talking. Like, I walked into a meeting with them and they're just fucking screaming at each other. I just sat there for an hour.
Jeez.
Like, all right, so are we gonna talk about the bar? Should I go? But yeah, got to sign that and have a really cleansing, healing, whatever the crystal white girls are saying about that stuff, conversation with my buddy. And yeah, we do a once a year trip together now. It's
nice.
Good. Yeah, it's great.
Well, at this point, so you've scuttled the bar. You don't have that to worry about anymore. You've got a therapist you like. Mm-hmm. It sounds like she's helping you quite a bit. And so you feel like you're in a better place now. And if you are, is this translating to your business behind the chair? Like, are you happier?
Yeah, I had a really great conversation with a longtime client last summer. It took a few months for me to like kind of trust that this was like actually going to happen. And then a month after we sold the business, I got my identity stolen, my bank account hacked.
Oh,
good times.
That is the worst.
Yeah, straight up called my bank and impersonated me.
So many hours of just wasted time trying to unwind these assholes.
Then canceling all the credit cards and figuring out the new credit card numbers with all the accounts. You're like, I forgot that I even had that.
Right, fraudulent charges that you have to unwind.
They went after my credit card points.
They went after your credit card points?
You
had that many points?
They got into my actual like online banking. They called my bank and had their phone number and email address added to my bank account so that they could shut me out.
Holy shit. Of like your checking account?
Everything. Because I have all my accounts linked under one login. So they had access to all the business accounts, my savings account, my checking account. And they cashed out a lot of... I got it all back because clearly I saw it was fraud.
Yeah.
So I got all the points back. But yeah, they walked with some money.
How much?
It was like 15 grand, I think, something like that.
Yeah. And I mean, the 15 grand, that fucking hurts, no doubt about it.
Yeah, because I mean,
how many hours did it take you to unwind all this?
Oh, dude, it was crazy. So I was about to start a haircut, and my guy was like kind of taking a minute to get to the chair. So I just, kind of instinctually pulled my phone out and checked my email, and I was like, saw an email from my bank that was like, and I could tell it was from my actual bank, that your password has been changed. And I was just like, oh, that's...
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, now the guy's sitting down, so I'm like, did the haircut as quick as I could, and then tried to log into my bank, and of course I couldn't. So then I got on the phone with them, and they're like, yeah, we see that. Okay, this isn't the right email address. I'm like, no, delete that email address. We didn't notice that the phone number stayed on. So I got him out, that was a Friday, went about my weekend, and then Monday, I couldn't log in again because they could get text to clear username and password. So I got on the phone again and spent 5 hours on the phone between dropped calls and wrong transfers and And
Waiting.
I'd gotten it all changed out, and I'm like, this is weird. Like, and I always use my phone. I never log in online. So I was clicking around just seeing what new features they had online. And I was like, why do I have 0 credit card points? Then I got on the phone with the actual right people at the bank, and then that's when they're like, so you don't know this bank account that's been linked to your rewards services? And I was like, nope. Like, you don't know this name? I'm like, nope. So got it all taken care of, but you know, long story long, it took me a few months to really trust the sale of the business. But over the summer, you know, about 6 months later, a longtime client, I was just chatting with him and cutting hair, and he was running for mayor. And we were sitting outside just catching up, and he was like, man, there's something different about you. You're very calm. And we talked a little bit longer, and he's like, he goes, I haven't seen you like this since Anthony's days, since the early days. And I was like, yeah, man, you know, trying to get back to that, a little more calm and reasonable, and, you know, less stressed. And
that's good.
we were talking some more, and he's like, dude, I don't think I've ever seen you like this. This is pretty incredible. And I was like,
wow,
thanks, man. You know what? This was the desired effect, so I'm glad it's landing.
Well, that's fantastic, dude. It really, I'm just, you know, I'm with bated breath waiting for every word, you know, as you tell the story, and so happy that it, you know, that it's led you in a good direction, and that you are where you are now, you know, happy. I think it's just tremendous.
I think a lot of us, especially in the barber industry, we have this like rise and grind, hustle every day, and it's. I mean, if you're truly happy doing that, more power to you. But I don't know, I just wasn't. And it's not that I don't want to create or do businesses or take opportunities anymore. I just wasn't happy doing what I was doing, and I had to have faith in myself that I could figure it out. I could fix it, and I am. Like I said, you know, now I'm doing this massive project of writing a book. It's not like I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I'm teaching again. I'm teaching for Gamma Stylecraft. Still working through fun stuff and interesting stuff, and
it's great.
Yeah, I'm taking stuff because I want to do it, not because I feel like I have to.
So how's the product business? And I wrote myself a note to ask you about the product business, because it's one of those things that everyone behind the chair seems to want to do, because, you know, they want to make money while they sleep, and, you know, not have their income perfectly tied to the amount of minutes that they spend on their feet behind the chair. So talk about that a little bit. Is it hard? How much time does it take? Do you enjoy it still? Have you ever enjoyed it?
Don't do it.
So the listeners who are not watching, Anthony just went as close as he could to the camera without me looking up his nostril when he said that. It's a lot of work, huh?
I started in a different time. There's a couple of things in my career when people ask me like how I got there. Some of it is for sure just right place, right time. Being able to see that I was in the right place, right time to capitalize on it was and is a skill. But a lot of those opportunities don't present anymore. When I got into the product line, there weren't really. I started developing it when I was filming the pilot for a reality show, and the guy was like, "Well, you're not going to make much money." The guy putting it together. I was like, "You're not going to make much money from each individual episode. So, what could you sell that's not a bad idea if the show doesn't work?" And I started in the industry a little bit different. I started actually making my own hair product in my kitchen when I was 19, 2003. And I'd already kind of been thinking about that. I was looking to expand. I wasn't really sure how yet. To me, my favorite part of the haircut is hairstyling. It's when we make the haircut come to life, right? We can talk a little bit to clients about like techniques and tools and stuff like that, but they're like, yeah, cool, whatever. But when you make that picture that they showed you or the picture they have in their head come to life, that's when you really capture them as a client. That's when you really excite them. So that's what excites me, right? Like people always ask, what's your favorite haircut to do? And I say this without any bit of sarcasm or being condescending. Truly, my favorite haircut is the one the customer's happy with. I've done all these fucking haircuts so many goddamn times. I don't care anymore. I like classic cuts, like that's cool, but like it's not what gets me up in the morning. Like happy clients is what gets me up in the morning. Making people feel good is what I love being behind the chair. Hearing their stories behind the chair is what I love. So I was thinking about getting back into it, and that was while we were filming. A week later, I flew down to LA and toured some facilities, and I launched actually 3 days before we opened the bar. I closed my temperature-controlled garage door with 5,000 units of product in it, and was like, I gotta get to this after I open this $1 million bar. Yeah. Not
Perfect
the
timing.
best timing.
Oh man.
But there was nothing really. I mean, there was Layrite, Suavecito, but there was no like small line. We thought those were big lines, right? Your big line was like American Crew, and that wasn't. I mean, that was in like sports clips and stuff, but independent barbershops weren't really selling that. Like that didn't appeal to us at all. If you can get it at a big box store, like you probably shouldn't.
Rite Aid.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't sell it in your. I mean, essentially, we're all boutique barbershops and salons, right? So why would we sell a big box item anyway? Right. But it was less competition. You know, it was like there's a couple of lines. It was like 88 changed his hair, his line. That was like it. There's Pacino, but that was kind of a different demographic. And he wasn't the Pacino we know now, doing $12 million in sales a month and shit like that. We all talked about it because we were all friends. We're all the small guys, so we kind of stuck together. We all knew the big business was going to get involved and figure it out and take it over, and they have. It's almost impossible. I don't think even now I could start a line with the inroads I have with education, with the social media following, with my own shops. I don't think I could create a line that did more than selling my own shops. If you want to do a white labeled line where you're buying your MLQ, because that's the other thing, right? Like I started 2 products and I had to order 2,500 units of each. And between selling at 2 of my shops that were very busy, 11 chairs total, it took me over a year to burn through those.
Wow.
So and your MLQs are going up now for anything custom formulated. So you can get, I'm sure everybody's heard of Alibaba. You can get white labeled with your own packaging on it on Alibaba it's going to be better than what I can sell you wholesale. If you want to do that, maybe start an Amazon page, but there's so much to it now. Like I have to use a loophole within Amazon so that people don't steal my fucking product. I have a lawsuit going in China for someone trying to trademark Victory Crown in China. Like I'm nobody, right? Like I'm not a big line by any stretch of the imagination, and people are trying to rip me off. So like Amazon,
isn't that just a kick in the pants? I mean, about every 3 months, someone starts a salon called Salon Republic, and I'm like, seriously?
Okay.
And then I have to pay this stupid attorney to, send a stupid letter.
Real quick side point. I don't understand why our industry has to name everything so on the nose. You know what I mean? Like, to me, your salon name, your barbershop name is such an opportunity to tell a story about what kind of place you are.
Yeah.
Classic cuts, best cuts, like clean cuts with 2 Ks and a Z. Like, there's one in every city. How are you going to stand out? How are you going to make a difference if tell that story? Everybody's going to, nobody looks at a barbershop and is like, they must be shitty. They don't. They're going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you're okay. Yeah. You made it to the point where you have a business.
Right.
So, like, tell a story. Like, I have a shop called Butch and Screwball Barbers because Butch and Screwball were 2 prominent business owners and degenerate gamblers that were in the neighborhood. They were right in the neighborhood of where the shop is. They were arrested throwing dice together in a church. So I use the term barbers instead of barbershop as to state that we are barbering in the spirit of their entrepreneurial and degenerate ways. Like, tell a fun story. Like, dude, like that's a letter to Sacramento. Those guys were 100 and they were they were about 100 years ago.
Wow, I love that.
But products. So Amazon, the way they work is, unless you're like a major player, right? I'm talking like Nike, Coke type stuff. Anybody can sell your product on Amazon. You can't really lock it down. They're getting better. Luckily, they're getting better. But you can't really lock it down. So what people are doing is they can skim money. So they take small lines like myself and they get a barbershop to order it for them because you just go under, even as the brand, I can't stop them. So have you ever seen like 15 sellers selling this for these prices? So those are
talking about diversion?
Mm-hmm. They're diverting me massively. Even as small as I am, they're getting a barbershop and whatever. I had to call this candle store in Iowa and threaten them. I don't even know. I don't have any idea how you're getting this product. I don't even have any shops carrying my product in Iowa. And I had to use this transparency. So if you don't have these stickers on when they go in, they get kicked back. So I had to use that. So there's just so many roadblocks now, and there's so much big money. I mean, one of the things that's not really being talked about in the industry, and I'll probably get a little backlash for this, but I'm not going to text you and tell you to take it down. So many of the lines that look small now in the industry are actually backed by major money. Like Statement is Henkel Schwarzkopf. They're the second largest beauty industry company in the world. That's pretty big. I can't compete against. They can lose millions of dollars while they buy the industry. Which, hey, I accepted that's it. That is what it is. But to compete against that, to be anything that's beyond like selling in your own shop it takes so much money. The ad spends now, because there's so many big companies competing for the targeted marketing, like words and demographics and things like that. Your ad spend on that stuff is astronomical. And every barber and hairstylist, think about how many, like, if you're thinking about doing this, right? Think about how many people you know that are thinking about doing this, and how many times you've been hit up to carry a product. Like, there's fatigue on that. People are just like, nah, I'm good. I like the stuff I got. Trust me, I'm still behind the Victory Crown Instagram reaching out like, hey, I love your shop. I'd love to send you some samples. Yeah. And people are nice. Right. They're just kind of fatigued.
Well, I suspected you were going to say those things, and so thanks for being honest.
I mean, if it's your dream to own a product line, I would never discourage anybody from following their dream, right? If you have some product that you know you can make and it's going to be great, and you're, I do it, don't let me discourage you. But like, if you're just looking for a way out, like you're saying, to like not have to cut as much, make money when you're sleeping, that's just not really there anymore.
Yeah. All right, so my next question is the wave the wand question. If I handed you a wand, an Anthony the Barber wand, and you can change anything about the industry at all when you waved it, what would it be?
Man. That's a really good question.
Thank you.
I think I would probably say... this is more barber specific, but I wish there was a little more community. Excuse me, I think that people are still a little, like when I came up, right? Like social media didn't really exist. And it was actually, a barber buddy and I were talking about this just the other day. It was like, you didn't know the barbershop up the street, but you're like, fuck them. Like, because they were the barbershop up the street. And there still is some
competitor.
Yeah, they're a competitor, even though there's plenty of haircuts to go around, right? Like I heard at Connecticut CT Expo last year that independent barbershops are still only 37% of the men's haircutting industry, which is fucking wild, right? That means that 63% of people are still going to chains and salons. Like, we really shouldn't worry about each other. Like. Right. And I'm not knocking chains or salons. I think they both very much have a part in, or a place in the men's haircutting space. It's just we can absorb a little bit more of that without having to hate each other.
Totally.
And I think that's a little bit better on the long hair side in the cosmetology world, but just a little more like not being weird. Like I get really excited when I have a barber I don't know come to my shop. But like I've definitely been that barber walking into their shops, and it's not always received that way. So a little more like confidence in the like, no, everyone's gonna eat. Like we should get along, and we should try to help each other, and we should, especially with all the stuff going on nowadays with, everything like deregulation of the industry, the oversaturation of the industry. Like we should be able to at least sit down, right? We don't need to be best friends, but like kind of.
Totally agree. Do you have any hair horror stories? You ever like stab somebody in the face or anything?
Man, I can't tell everything that's in the book. I don't want to tell the one story that I put in the book.
How about you tease the story? I'll let you tease the story in the book, And then that's going to make people want to read the book more. Even though we are like a year out from the book.
That's true. I removed a part of someone's body during the haircut because I wasn't paying attention. We'll put it that way.
Was it a Mike Tyson?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it aortic blood squirting?
Yeah. The dude passed out too. So he almost fell out of the chair.
On the floor?
I grabbed him.
Out of the...
I grabbed him before he hit the floor. I've had a long history of people passing out in my chair.
Shut up. What?
I can't count the number of people I've had pass out in my chair. I do not know why. And so almost always they're on pills or.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, I mean, if it's in a bar, they're probably drinking.
Honestly, we didn't get that many people that were in the chair. People would come in and be annoying when they were drunk, just like, fucking, are you gonna Sweeney Todd me? But when they're in the chair, we didn't have very many. It happened once in a while, but we didn't have too many people that were too fucked up. Mostly they'd just be weird with the female barbers, which is shitty.
Yeah, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah, well,
as my daughter says, cringe.
Yeah. Like I have to shout from across the room, like, shut the fuck up, man, because they're in the middle of the shave. Like I can't. But yeah, the other thing was people not eating, taking pre-workout, and then coming to get a haircut right after the workout.
Wait a second. Not eating, taking pre-workout.
Going and working out, and then coming and get a haircut. Yeah. And I think... Okay.
So wait, what's pre-workout? Is that like an Energizer?
Yeah. It usually has a shit ton of caffeine in it.
Oh. So what, they're all jittery?
Yeah, and you can kind of tell, because they'll get really sweaty out of nowhere, like almost immediately get really sweaty, turn white, get like really unresponsive. And if they are, it's kind of like mumbly. So now I've saved it a couple times now. I start to recognize it and I'll pop the cape off of them and like give them some water and like lean the chair back a little bit.
Before they faint.
I had this dude low on blood sugar. We thought he was wasted. This was at Anthony's, before the bar. He straight up head hit the floor. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm getting sued. And his buddies were outside waiting for him. We're like, come get your fucking drunk boy, you dickheads. And they're like, what? He's not drunk. We're like, well, he's on the ground. Funny. And he's like, no, he's got low blood sugar. And I was like, shut the fuck up. And they like got him up, sat him up against the brick wall in front of the shop, and they went, there's a A&PM about a half block away. They went and got him, they gave him some apple juice, and he was fine within 10 minutes. He really did just have low blood sugar.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's really funny. I don't think I've ever heard that there were that many people fainting out of chairs after 400 episodes. I haven't heard that many.
I think
so.
It was more common at Anthony's. I didn't use the like hook clip thing. I just used the snaps. So I think I was putting it a little too tight on people, and then the AC was terrible in there. I mean, we had...
You were choking and sweating people out.
Yeah, I think so. And then they're all dilated from pre-workout and stuff. Because,
oh my God.
I mean, we were 5 chairs, and we ran a 2 to 3 hour wait all day, every day. So, and it's, it gets 110 here in Sac. So it's just...
Yeah.
We had to close a couple times because we couldn't fade, because it's like trying to fade on... Like trying to like lick your hand and run it across glass. Like it doesn't...
Gross.
But yeah, I'd say those. A couple of fights in the barbershop. That's...
Really?
Yeah. We're like...
Between barbers and clients, or clients and clients?
Clients and clients.
Barbers and barbers? Okay.
Always clients and
So
clients.
one guy's being loud, about his sports team or about politics or whatever, and the next thing you know?
Yeah. Before I opened my first shop, I had... I was just doing kind of like little guest spots, trying to figure out where I wanted to work at the few barbershops that existed. And I was working at this old man shop. Dude was, I think he was in his like early 70s. And this was during the first Obama campaign. This was summer of 08. Mm-hmm. And I'm cutting some dude's hair, and he's arguing with some dude next to me about politics. I wasn't even really paying attention. It was something about like, damn liberals. And the barber was saying that, and he had like a 4 on the sides, like parted, like kind of late aughts white dude professional haircut, and he took a number 2 and shaved him down the middle. It's like, get the fuck out of my shop.
shit.
And I was just I'm like, what the fuck's happening? Like, my client's freaking out and looking at me, and I'm like, I don't know. I just came here today. I don't even know this guy. I'd come by the weekend before, and I was like, you need any help? He's like, yeah, come next weekend, Fridays, Saturdays. I was like, okay, cool. I'm like, I don't know. I've been here like 2 hours. And the guy's looking at me, the guy that got shaved, he's looking at me like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm 23, homie. I don't know. Like, what do you want me to do? This is my shop.
Oh my God. That's amazing. Oh, any last words for the community?
Just keep doing it, keep at it. If whatever you're doing, good for you. If whatever you're trying to do isn't working, keep at it. This job isn't the most difficult job, but it's not the easiest job. Compartmentalizing people's emotions all day, standing in the relatively same place, repetitive motions, Take care of yourself, take care of your clients. It's
love it.
Yeah, it's
Love it.
it's a beautiful industry that I love, and I hope everybody sees that through this podcast. I hope they make it to this part, right?
Right. Well, look, I appreciate you being honest and opening up, and things like stories like yours that you've told today. I think there's going to be listeners who are like, I'm going to try that, and I'm going to try to talk to somebody, and I'm going to try to work on myself because I've been thinking about it for a while, and Anthony kind of encouraged me to do that, and so we're going to get that result out of your story. So I really, really appreciate that.
I hope we all want to learn our own lessons, but I hope that my faults have helped you avoid some heartache and some trouble.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it, Anthony, and take care. I love your story, and hope to meet you in person one day.
I'm sure we can arrange that. Thank you for the time, and I appreciate being on here. I'll see you soon.